Let's talk about ink pens for drawing. Now, we recently reorganized some of my pens and I went through, got rid of ones that I'm not using, but that got me thinking about my very favorite pens for drawing with ink. So some things that I look for with a ink pen. I want it to be very saturated. I am okay with leaning on the side of a little bit runny in order to get a good dark line. I would rather on the front end have to dry out a pencil a little bit than only be able to use it for a little while before it's dry. I also want it to be waterproof. It's very important to me that my pens when I'm drawing are waterproof. Now there are some great options for pens when you want the ink to bleed a little bit. A good option for that would be the Faber-Castell pens, but that's not generally the style that I work in. So I want my artwork to be protected. I really don't want the pigment to smudge or to bleed. And while I generally want a deep rich black, it's a bonus if I can also get the same pens in a different color when I'm working on personal projects. I also like to have a variety of sizes because I'm not only switching the size of the paper that I'm working on and the scale will change, I like to be able to have the freedom to add some tiny details in there while the personality of the pen stays the same. So the ink flows the same, the pigment color is just as deep and the same color. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Sharpies tend to lean a little bit purple. And last but not least, while I wouldn't say that this is a deal breaker for me, it is really nice if you see a stamp like this on it. This is from the Arts and Creative Material Institute, and at least with watercolor paints, this little crest, this little symbol stamped on here means that it's non-toxic. And I just kind of like how that makes me feel. It just makes me feel a little bit more safe and secure. Now, having said that, I do have pens that do not have this symbol on them, and I still use them. All right, first up is a cult classic. It is the Micron pen by Pigment. I really like the 01 size. That tends to be my go-to just for the general size that I like to work with. This brand has a cult following for a reason. It ticks all of my boxes where there's a ton of sizes and colors it comes in. It is totally waterproof and it even has our little symbol on it. So in general, these have been a go-to for years. There's usually one in my purse, but I think I can honestly say that it's not quite my favorite anymore, even though I still have the most of this pen. Especially if you're looking for an alternative color, Micron is probably the way to go. One brand that I picked up while I was researching for my ink drawing course is the Staedtler brand, and I might be saying that wrong. I've actually never heard anybody say the name of this brand. I've only ever just read it. I love how rich and inky these pens are. The cap is very secure, which is really nice. I like that the size is clearly printed on the cap, so if I did store them upright, it'd be really easy for me to find what size I'm looking for. I didn't mention it, but Micron also does the same, but I do really enjoy this brand. I've used it probably the least. I actually let my husband use them and then I went back and stole them back later. I found them generally interchangeable with my other pens, which is also a good sign. It does have the non-toxic symbol on here. It is waterproof in my experience, but I really just like the way that this one feels. It feels very secure in your hand. It has a decent weight to it. It's not like a luxury weighted pen or anything like that, but I find this really easy to use. In fact, I often use this size in my purse just for notes on the go, as well as for drawing. And the last black pen that we're going to talk about is the UniPin. This might be my favorite. I don't know, it's definitely the one that I've lost the most of because I'm carrying them around so much. I love this little peekaboo window right here so you can kind of glance at the size. That also states the size on the cap, which I really think that any good pen company, that if you're working with artists, you need to have something like that for just different options for storage. However, this pen does not have the non-toxic symbol on it, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on that. But like I said, it's not a deal breaker for me. I don't plan on discontinuing my use of them. I'm not eating them or putting them in my mouth at all, so I think that they'll be safe to use as art, for creating. But it's just something to kind of keep in mind and think about. And if I had to pick just one black pen, it might be this one. I don't think it comes in any other colors, which is kind of a bummer, at least last time I was looking. But for some reason, it just happens to be the one that's always in my hand. And it is the one that I've lost the most sizes of, which sounds awful, but it just means that it's been the one in my purse, it's been the one at my desk, on my nightstand, in my travel bag, on the go with me. All right, next we have a white pen option. I haven't actually found or tried a lot of white pens in order to kind of compare them, but I do like a good old-fashioned jelly roll. Maybe it's the nostalgia and the grittiness of the glide on the paper, the fact that it's a ballpoint pen. I still love and use these pens quite a bit, especially if I'm doing inking on a tonal paper. But this is definitely an area where I could use a little bit of insight and a little bit of help. If you have a white pen that you love that you can use on colored paper or tonal paper, I would love to hear your recommendations so I can try those out. All right, not a pen, but I thought was worth mentioning in this video. I love a good sand eraser when working with ink. It doesn't fix all of your problems, it's not a miracle worker, but it can save your project if you have a little bit of a mishap. Again, not a miracle worker, do not depend on this thing, but it's so handy to have on hand. I've had this one for years, I've used it quite a bit, but it's lasting me really well. All right, and the little bit awkward last but not least, this is a zebra pen. If you're looking for something that's not going to bleed and you're working on thin paper, this is a great option. If you'd like more help with your ink drawing, be sure to check out my full ink drawing course. We go even deeper into details about pens, drawing exercises, how to erase your mistakes with pen, shading and modeling, and bringing life and depth to your ink drawings. My collection of pens may be small but mighty, and I'm really thankful to have found so many great options for drawing with. If, however, there is a pen I have completely been sleeping on, missed out on, please let me know in the comment section down below. Please enable my apparent need to accumulate more weapons of mass creation. And until next time, happy drawing.